Alright, today begins a new season of Battlegrounds, and last season was very 50-50 for sure, right? But I feel like this one is a lot more fun overall. So for the nodes, you have polka dot power, which means you cannot gain power by normal means, and instead, you generate a percentage of power while a DOT effect is on the opponent. And there's also power shield, where only special attacks and DOT effects do damage, and during your special attacks, you gain 400% attack rating. So yeah, power shield, it makes things a lot more fun than like the last meta for sure. But there's also Red Scare, where fighting style offense DOT champs gain a vicious passive whenever they inflict a damaging effect, and this stacks up to 5. So yeah, this vicious passive should do a ton of work for a lot of champions, especially those offense DOT champions. So for your best options here, you have the power gain champions like Hyperion, like Kushala, like any mystic character versus buffs. You have the damage over time champions, especially those that are hashtag offense DOT. For example, Werewolf by Night. But then like any other DOT champion does pretty good as well. For example, Scorpion. And these are your main attackers, and for defense, you want to have champions that are like either immune to a ton of stuff, for example Iceman or Korg, or champions that can just shrug off debuffs, for example Kingpin or also Korg. So there's a quick rundown of Season 14, but next up we have the important notes for this meta. So remember some champions' immunities. This is very important because some champions don't look immune to some things, but they actually are. For example, Mole Man is shock immune. Sandman is shock immune. Who else is like kind of surprising? Hulkling, remember his immunities as well. Ant-Man, poison and shock immune. Like there are some very like not well-known immunities for sure. Chiath can't be ruptured pretty much. Silk can't be ruptured. Like remember your immunities as well. And remember how some champions inflict DOT. For example, Kate Bishop, she is kind of bad this meta because she can't gain power normally, so her DOT can't be accessed at all. But also, keep in mind that Power Shield affects DOT inflicted during the special attack. For example, Diablo gets supercharged poisons, Icarus and his incinerates as well, Tiger with the ruptures, just like a ton of different champions get some massive DOT increase from the Power Shield node. Now for my personal MVP. So my top 5 are Werewolf by Night, Diablo, Mole Man, Kushala, and Sunspot for sure. These champions just put up some crazy numbers, like sub 30-second fights sometimes. Diablo just very safe. Mole Man is just reliable as well. All these champions are just really strong, but especially Werewolf by Night. Now for defense, I use Thing, Iceman, and Korg a lot. Thing because he can get protection on special attacks. Iceman is just immune to everything pretty much, and Korg has that rock shield plus a ton of immunities, and he shrugs off debuffs. So these guys are just like the gold standard for what you want for a defender this meta. Like they have pretty much all boxes checked. And for my fun options, I have Icarus, who is honestly doing pretty dang well, especially against Korg. Deathless Guillotine, who's honestly surprising me for sure, and Taskmaster, who is quite menacing on defense as well. With Taskmaster, after 10 debuffs, he goes debuff immune, so yeah, good luck trying to get power that way. Now for general use, I have Werewolf by Night for attack, Kushala, Mole Man, Onslaught, Chiath, Sunspot, Ghost, Archangel, Massacre, Human Torch, Tigra, Diablo, and Infamous Iron Man. Now, most of these champions are DOT, but there's also some pretty odd ones out there. For example, Ghost. Now, Ghost bypasses polka dot power with her own power gain from her awakened ability, and yeah, she just becomes a monster with power shield. Now, also Hyperion, who has passive power gain, is insane for this too. But yeah, the other champions here, they're just great DOT champions, and like with power shield, they just get supercharged, man, especially champions like Werewolf by Night, which you'll see later on in this video. Now, for defense, I have Kingpin, Future Ant-Man, Thing, Korg, Iceman, Killmonger, Nick Fury, Kindred, Taskmaster, and most shrug-off champions to be honest. But, like, Kingpin is the best at it for sure. Future Ant-Man has a damage cap and he's immune to a lot of stuff. Thing is Thing, right? So, like, he has a protection. Korg is Korg. Killmonger gains power whenever he's inflicted with a debuff, so yeah, that can go south very fast. Nick Fury's just Nick Fury. He can just purify on the second life, and he has 2 lives, which is already very annoying. Kindred is an odd one, but he's really good because with Kindred, if you one-shot him, he will just root you and do a ton of damage to you. So yeah, watch out for Kindred for sure. Taskmaster already explained, and most shruggers can just try to eliminate some DOT effects, right? But then there's champions like Onslaught who have passive DOT that can just bypass the shrug off champion, so Onslaught should be very, very good for this meta for sure. Now, let's see some gameplay of my best options so far. So first off, we have this Diablo fight, and Diablo is such a beast this meta because with this meta, you can just supercharge his poisons, and the result is honestly just insane. Now, this future Ant-Man is Ascended, and this is a rank 1 Awakened Diablo, which I know is very lucky for sure, but even Undupe should do pretty good as well. But check out this damage output. Once we get it going, it is just so insane. But check this out now. He's going to drop the SP1, no big deal. We go back in, we drop the SP2 ourselves, and look at this damage output. Just incredible stuff right there. And yeah, this matchup is essentially over now because we can just pause the poisons with the SP1, and now we're just chilling, man. And this fight is wrapped up essentially. Such a clean fight here. Diablo is such a monster for sure. And yeah, this is a 49-second takedown of an Ascended future Ant-Man with my rank 1 7-star Diablo. But now we have something even crazier. Check out this damage output. It is just some of the silliest stuff ever. Werewolf by Night, in my opinion, is by far the best option for this meta. And look how fast this fight is right here. This is a rank 5 Maestro versus a rank 5 Werewolf by Night. So it's an even matchup. But check out the result of this matchup. It feels so dirty to do this, but Werewolf by Night is just that good. So here we get the Howl up, then we drop the SP2, and check out this damage output. Yeah, it is just game over in one single SP2. We took a hit, it's fine, and that was about a 27-second matchup for a rank 5 Maestro. That is just insane stuff. But now we have this Elsa Bloodstone, which is no big deal, but Kushala is honestly just as crazy for this meta because check out this damage output by her. We're going to go in, we're going to drop the SP1, and the result is something super crazy. So here we drop it, and some pretty good damage there, but then 25,000 incinerates per tick. That's just silly, right? And yeah, that's a 25-second matchup right there. Insane stuff, really. Now we have this Mole Man matchup, and this matchup is very unideal for him, but he still does it pretty dang well. And yeah, Red Skull is one of the best defenders in the game right now, but Mole Man, he just doesn't care. Check this out. We go in, drop a heavy attack, drop another one here. Now we're in frenzy pretty much. We go in, and now we can start gaining some power. And the SP2 one-shot's pretty much guaranteed, which is, very good for this meta. Now we drop a heavy attack here. Here he drops the SP2, no big deal. And yeah, so far so good. We gotta play it a bit more conservative now because of the Unstoppable, but it's fine. We go in, drop a heavy attack, took a bit of damage, but it's fine. Then we go back in, and yeah, this matchup is about to be over essentially. Here we drop another one, taking like minimal damage there, but it's whatever. And here he kind of fails my guaranteed crit somehow, but it's whatever because check this out. We get a nice 63,000 crit right there, and that just ends the fight. So yeah, Red Skull dealt with absolute ease. Now we have this Onslaught matchup, and Onslaught is such a beast for this meta because he is a great counter to these Shrug champions, and these Shrug champions are the most annoying defenders this meta, but Onslaught just doesn't care really. Check out this damage output once we get going. Now Zemo is one of the best defenders this meta, so this is no easy feat for sure, but Onslaught I think is his best counter overall because Onslaught is just purely passive DOT. He does have some daunted debuffs, but with the correct play you can just bypass like the root, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so far so good here. We're building up power because polka dot power this meta is for passives as well, which is really important to know. And we're about to go to the SP2, and the SP2 is just going to be so crazy, man, because look at the damage output once we get to it. We're going to drop a heavy attack there, which is perfect. We drop it again here, I believe, and here he blocks, but doesn't matter, no, because check out that degen damage. 30,000 per tick, and yeah, that matchup is just over. So yeah, Onslaught, all these other champions, Kushala, Werewolf by Night, Diablo, just so good for this meta. This meta is honestly super fun for sure, and I cannot wait to keep on playing it. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this guide and this meta in general, and yeah, that's about it for me.